Folks, pubsportsradio.com, another hot topic video today. We did put a little bit of a bow on the draft. It's time to look forward here. He's the big man on campus, Jeff Nadu. I'm Donnie Simber. Let's talk some Super Bowl odds, Jeff, for 2020 in the NFL. A lot of these things are changing. You might be able to get some good value here.
Yeah, a lot to look at, Donnie. Obviously figuring out now once we have made the have had the draft, how do these players affect these teams, and did they get better? So you look at a team, Donnie, like, I don't know, maybe the Buffalo Bills and say, okay, I look at what failed them last year, or the Baltimore Ravens, what failed them last year. Did they improve? Did they help themselves in free agency? And where do they go now from here? And this is where, Donnie, you have to play futures. This is where you get value. This is where you find the prices. During the season, it's obviously a whole lot tougher to find good value in these teams. Now, again, a lot of it's baked into the numbers already. But, Donnie, I look at teams that are a little off the beaten path. So did those teams improve, and where do they stand going into the season?
Yeah, when we take a look at both of the conferences, because there is a steep divide. Obviously, Jeff, when we look at the AFC and take a look at some futures here, the Kansas City Chiefs plus 350, the Baltimore Ravens plus 400. Just taking a look right now on betonline.ag with some of those odds. They're the clear favorites. To me, and look, they're head and shoulders above, let's just say, the New England Patriots or the Buffalo Bills or the Colts to me. But when we take a look at the NFC, there is a logjam. How about a three-way tie, Jeff, on BetOnline? New Orleans Saints plus 600, the San Francisco 49ers plus 600, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 600.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to basically say it right now. I'm taking out the Chiefs. I have no interest in betting on the Chiefs. It's hard to repeat. I'm not interested in those odds, frankly. You need when you win a Super. Look at, as we said last year, we've talked about this, Donnie. Mm-hmm. Is it safe to say that next year they're going to come back in all those games? Is all that going to go the same way? It's kind of like the Tennessee Titans, Donnie. I rule them out for another reason. I just don't foresee Ryan Tannehill having that unbelievable. I mean, he was terrific last year at times. Can he continue to take that step forward and kind of repeat and reciprocate the same season? Donnie, I'm looking at kind of teams off the beaten path. I'll talk about the Ravens. They're not really off the beaten path, but I look at a team like Buffalo. Interesting enough, I think they're interesting. I mean, you look at bringing in Stephon Diggs. Obviously, I think that's going to help considerably. I think one thing they lacked was that big-time receiver. Okay, they had kind of the second-rate guys, the Cole Beasleys, the John Browns. They never had that big play, go up and get it receiver that's going to take a game over. We know Stephon can do that. I thought that was a terrific move. You all of a sudden look at this offensive line. Pretty stout, pretty great, pretty good as far as that's concerned. You add kind of a bell cow running back and create a bell cow running back in Devin Singletary. You add Zach Moss in the draft too. I think it's going to be a nice piece to go along in that backfield. You look at the draft as well. You add A.J. Epinesa, another pass rusher. I mean, it's safe to say, Donnie, they may have the best overall defense in the NFL, and you only get stronger adding folks like Epinesa. Epinesa was a guy that probably was a first-round pick. He ends up going in the second. You get Mario Addison as well. I mean, that is just safe to say they have the best defense in the NFL. We also have to remember, it's likely this year they're not going to have to obviously deal with that dreaded enemy in the AFC East in the New England Patriots. I look at a team like Buffalo and say to myself, do I also think Josh Allen is going to be as poor as he was in some of those big games? I don't think he will. We have to remember, Donnie, in that game in the AFC, the second round of the AFC playoffs, they were up big in that game. Okay, they found a way to piss it away. That's likely to not happen again. I think they've made some changes, and I think they're worthy. And you'd have to tell me the price. I'm having trouble getting my odds to come up here, but I think
12 to 1. 12 to 1 in the AFC.
I think they're interesting. I think they're right up there, right kind of below the Baltimore. So it's Baltimore and I think Kansas City up top. And then you're going to have your Buffaloes, your Tennessees, your other teams that are going to kind of bring up the rear. But Buffalo's interesting in the AFC to me.
It's because now we're looking at a sort of a different NFL. And the reason I say that is you get the extra playoff team that's going to come in, which is always great. And I think it's going to make for a lot more entertainment. And that first round of the playoffs, 3 games on a day is a lot better to me than 2 games, obviously. But when we take a look, Jeff, being at the top of the standings, you get the added bonus because you're the only team that's going to get a bye. So if you're saying, hey, Kansas City Chiefs going to get the number 1 overall seed in the AFC, that is a huge advantage over the rest of the pack. When typically, Jeff, we have 2 teams that get the bye, we can get to be rested and ready. And that's the same thing as we take a look at the NFC, because if we're taking a look at those 3 teams that are listed at the top of the NFC, being the Saints, the 49ers, and the Buccaneers, there's two teams that have something in common. The Saints and the Buccaneers got to battle each other to actually win the division and get the higher seeding. When I take a look at the San Francisco 49ers, I think they're clear in a way the best team in the NFC West. I like what the Seattle Seahawks do because obviously they have Russell Wilson. We're taking a look at maybe the Rams taking a step back and still that team not ready to leap into the discussion of winning that division would be the Arizona Cardinals. So when I see that number of 3 teams with 6-1, I like the San Francisco 49ers, to be honest, as the clear-cut favorite out of those 3 teams right there.
Yeah, I was actually, Donnie, pretty disappointed with what they did in the NFL draft, the 49ers. I'm not saying that, they screwed it up royally, but, I thought they had a real opportunity, Donnie, to really kind of formidably get the best receiver in the draft. I thought Jerry Jeudy was there. I mean, CeeDee Lamb was there, Donnie. You take Javon Kinlaw. I felt like, and they remind me, and maybe you can comment here, I still look at them as a team that lacked that big play guy. And I'm not sure that someone in the draft is going to be that guy. But, I still don't love their receiving core. I also, got to tell you, I think their secondary, it's starting to get up there a little bit. I would have liked to have seen maybe another corner, maybe. I don't know. I didn't love the Kinlaw selection. I felt like they were – I don't think they're real – I don't think it's a real need for them, frankly. I would have went other ways, maybe a receiver or a corner. Keep in mind, you have plenty of corners on the board there as well. I wasn't necessarily happy with what they did. I still think they're the best team in the NFC, but I'm going to go a different way, Donnie. Just kind of a team that I had a lot of interest in last year, and I was really kind of – worried only it's kind of the similar way that I have on the Bills. There's one thing that worries me on the Bills and the Minnesota Vikings, and that's their starting quarterback. And that was one concern last year I had with Minnesota, and the fact that I just didn't love their secondary. I thought they were just kind of past their prime a little bit. They never really matriculated into what we thought they would. I remember, guys like Trey Wayans. I had kind of big thoughts for Trey Wayans. I thought, guys like that would kind of matriculate, and they never seemed to do it. I said yesterday, I thought they had one of the better drafts. I mean, they had 17 picks, so they're going to get a ton of players. They drafted, I believe, Donnie, 6 defensive backs. I mean, they knew they needed defensive backs. So they went out and got plenty of guys I think that could come in and play right away. You drafted Mike Hughes just a couple of years ago. They went out and had a viable replacement. I'm not necessarily sure he's Stephon Diggs, but he's a nice player that could go along with your Bell Cow and Thielen. You already have a pretty solid run game. I think if we can get another season like we did last year out of Kirk Cousins, I'm interested at the thought of what Minnesota could be. It's always tough to go up there and win. We know, Donnie, in our ATS stuff, we know how good Mike Zimmer is at playing against divisional opponents and the NFC in general. They're starting to have some interest in me. I think they're a fascinating team.
No, they are a fascinating team, and they are talented. I thought they made the right moves in the draft. If you lose Stephon Diggs, you go out and pick out an SEC dominating wide receiver in Jefferson. I thought their moves made a lot of sense. Always the tough thing, though, is when you have to put in perspective, again, with the new NFL this year where only that one team gets the bye. That's a tough division because even if you don't love Green Bay, they still have Aaron Rodgers. Even if you don't love the Chicago Bears, they're still talented out there. Oh. And then the Detroit Lions, creeping up the pack, which can easily be a 500 team that can mess with you throughout the season.
Yeah, it's so true, and that's a good point by you. They're another group, the Detroit Lions. I've talked. I remember last year I bet on them for like the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. I was really happy with the direction of that team, and then Matt Stafford gets injured, and Slay at times was they had guys out in the secondary, so at times you just kind of got. They just kind of had some bad luck, I thought. But you look at all of a sudden, I mean, they have one of the better receiving cores in the league. I think their offensive line's pretty solid. They had DeAndre Swift to go along with Kerryon Johnson. Donnie, for years, really since, Barry Sanders, really. They have not had a formidable rushing attack. It's just been a bunch of Matt Stafford and throwing the football around. But, all of a sudden now Detroit has a run game. All of a sudden defensively, you add Okudah, you fill a need that you had to fill. They have a pretty solid front seven. I like Stafford. I think if they could stay healthy, they're interesting in that. And you're right with that division. It's so tough. One other team, Donnie, and it pains me to say this, but the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think it could be overstated how good of a draft they had. they have kids, and they brought in kids that are going to come in and be instant players on this offense and defense. CeeDee Lamb's instantly going to come in and play the slot for them. You'd have to figure Biotish is a guy that can come in a year or two and be the heir apparent to what Travis Frederick is. I think Neville Gallimore is a guy that can get in the rotation very quick. I mean, you look at all of a sudden, Gerald McCoy, Dontari Poe, DeMarcus Lawrence. Do they go out and get something out of these Gallimores and Anais and that kind of game? They grabbed Trevon Diggs. I think they went and grabbed guys that are going to come in and be able to contribute right away. You're going to get Leighton Vander Esch back. He was injured for most of the second half of the season last year. So, it pains me to say, but that Dallas Cowboys team's starting to look really formidable, especially on the offensive side. They look scary.
Yeah, what about if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, it's kind of a shit because I still can't believe Mike McCarthy was the move that they went for head coach. I thought they could have hit a grand slam by making a nice move there. But hey, it is what it is. I'm going to leave you with one question here. If we take a look at the conference futures for each one of the AFC and the NFC meeting in the Super Bowl, I still go chalk early in the season, Jeff. I'm going to go the Baltimore Ravens, even though they are second listed behind the Kansas City Chiefs. I just think of what they overall did. If we have a combination of what you anticipated of Lamar Jackson coming into next year, being another year in the system, being a more flourishing pocket passer, what they did on the defensive line to bolster in free agency, and also what they did in the draft, I think it adds up to a championship for the AFC. And then if I'm going to take a look at the NFC, I'm going to keep it the same. If we have those guys up top, sure, I would like the Eagles to win, or maybe the Cowboys can surprise, or one of those teams from the NFC North. But I just think the 49ers overall, from a perspective of head coaching moves to their overall talent and winning their own division, I think it makes sense. I'm going to go chalky here, but I'll go San Francisco 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens matching up. Who you got?
Yeah, I think, real quick on Baltimore, I think you're dead right. As I said, I think it was what did we not do last year that prevented us from winning a Super Bowl? And I think it's pretty simple, Donnie. They got beat the hell up by Derrick Henry. It's pretty simple.
And Ingram also, you go and get J.K. Dobbins. We saw Ingram with that calf injury, which really slowed him down. And he was the muscle all season long. Now you say, you know what? If we get injured, got another Pro Bowl right behind him possibly. Yeah.
Right. And our linebackers struggled last year. So we go out and we address that. You mentioned the defensive line help. You look, Donnie, all of a sudden that defensive that linebacker
boys, that
linebacker group as well is pretty formidable. You get the best linebacker in the draft, arguably, outside of Kenneth Murray. LJ Fort, another year for him. You also have a totally full year for Marcus Peters now, Donnie. He's there for a year. So, yeah, I would go Baltimore in the AFC. And in the NFC, I agree with you. I think chalk. But, again, I'm looking deeper. Buffalo, Minnesota, Dallas Cowboys, people like teams like that. Philadelphia Eagles even. I'm looking at those teams if I'm looking at futures right now.
No, we'll keep it going, keep you involved right here at pubsportsradio.com, keeping these hot topics coming, but it should be fun. Hey, hopefully the NFL, which did a perfect draft to me, and the offseason is underway. Let's not have any delays
Donnie,
and get the season started on time. What's up?
By the way, it's good we didn't listen to all the media talking heads like Mike Florio and Adam Schefter, because if we did,
having the draft in this type of environment.
No, and it's funny because if we listened to them, we would be in a standstill like MLB where there's nothing going on. We're not doing anything. And you know what? The NFL draft you're a big rating guy. I mean, you got terrific rating. People needed it. People need sports back. They have to come back. And you know what I learned about Adam Schefter, Donnie?
Mm-hmm.
Clay Travis said it well. I don't love Clay Travis, but he said it well here. You know what Adam Schefter is? He's a yes man. He gets in line when he's told to and shuts up. And that's what Adam Schefter did. You notice, Donnie, Adam Schefter didn't want the draft, but he didn't have any problem taking out all the money that he grabbed from sitting there to talk about the NFL draft. So I don't get the thought process behind some of these big media guys. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But, hey, Donnie, the game is doom and gloom right now. We know that.
No, game is doom and gloom, and he took a playbook. It took a page right out of the playbook of Jay Billis. We can't pay these kids. Why aren't you paying these kids? But hey, I work for ESPN. We cover college basketball, and I get a big paycheck of these kids.
I got no problem taking the money though associated with it. So yeah, it's all cyclical, Donnie. You got to know where to kind of draw the line. But yeah, I'm glad we didn't listen to them, because if we're Mark Florio didn't even want free agency to happen, because there would be bodies in the street, according to him. Well, that never ended up happening as far as we know. So,
yep, opinions wanted, as always, Jeff, right here on pubsportsradio.com. Keep an eye out for the hot topics tomorrow. We'll bring another one to you there. He's Jeff Nadeau. I'm Donnie Seymour. Have a good afternoon.